Hello and welcome to yet another video, furthering our fractured, feathered and furry foray into creatures, cards and chants. A link to part 1 is in the description, and a quick summary of what we made is here. You missed it. And now we're going to pick up right where we left off with card number 12. Take it away, Rando. Okay, rounding out the dirty dozen, we have the Chariot Pigeon. Oh god. I could imagine that, just walking down the high street one day and then there's just this chariot full of pigeons just riding through, stealing everybody's chips and... God, that's terrifying. You just put out the bird feeders and there's those little robins and little blackbirds. It's just sort of, can we have some seed? No, Pigeon Chariot. Okay, so the robins can rest easy with this one. The pigeons are just tearing down the high street in their wing-made takeout chariot. The fast food makes it faster. This is probably one of the sillier cards I've made, but not the silliest, that's yet to come. Still though, pigeons are goofy, and you've simply got to lean into that. It's the least you can do after pigeons were domesticated for a couple of thousand years before we collectively kicked them out onto the street and started calling them rats of the sky. Terribly unfair. Imagine that happening to dogs in 100 years or so. Pigeons of the ground, they'll call them. Awful. Okay, lucky number 13, we've already had that. Righto, lucky number 13, we have, stop giving me the chariot, please. Okay, lucky number 13 gives us the Empress Whale. Graceful, regal, bloody enormous. Good on her, she deserves it. She certainly impressed me, that's for sure. Well, this is very silly, I apologize. So I found this one a little tricky to pass, drawing a cartoony cetacean sovereign without it just looking like Pearl from SpongeBob. Even my first pseudo-realistic attempt looked more like a moon card than Empress. So instead I just stole an idea from Just Miss Art, who said that the splashes of water above the head looked like a crown. Thanks, miss. Oh, by the way, check out Just Miss Art's art. It's great. Much better than this, seriously. Check it out. Do it. Now. Besides dolphins and the like, the closest living relatives to whales are actually hippos, and as such they have a phylogenetic crown group combining the two. Naturally, being the super serious creative intellects that they are, biologists decided to take the words whale, hippo and morph and name this group Whippomorpha. Ever since then, more serious biologists have really tried to replace this word, but tough luck, the silly ones got there first. Time for number 14, and it is the High Priestess Mole. Presumably the Low Priestess Mole. I guess high, I guess in terms of Earth's crust, pretty high. Or like a molehill, like on top of a molehill, very high. Huge molehill. Making a mountain out of a molehill so that the High Priestess can have her rightful throne. I think this is the first time I've just messed around before I've actually even thought about the drawing and I've already described the drawing. Do you realise how much of a pain this card was? I had a great idea. Looking at the Rider-Waite card, I can emulate the gown as a molehill, the hat with a couple of worms and a pomegranate. Why there are pomegranates in the background, I don't know. And the flanking black and white pillars can be represented by trees, of which, with careful light placement, we'll see mostly one in shadow and the other mostly lit. Do you think I could find any colour scheme that worked with this idea? I'm going to save you the pain and cut all of those iterations out of the time-lapse, because frankly it's a photosensitivity nightmare. But suffice it to say, the irony that the card I had the most difficulty colouring, being that of the animal with the worst eyesight of the bunch, is certainly not lost on me. Righto, 55515, it gives us the tower cow. The cower. I mean, it's right in front of us. It's very simple. Now, is this a tower of cows? Are we just stacking cows on top of each other like a toddler with a playset? I guess the tower represents disaster, so it's like a tower of cows that is in the process of falling over, or being struck by lightning. Whatever it is, it's an utter disaster. Sometimes you've got to plunge yourself deep into the centuries-long symbolism sedimentarily accrued around the concept in the card. Cultures throughout time piling their perceptions and predilections, informing the physical, the abstract, the emotive, and the spiritual alike. And other times you've got to draw a cow on a grain silo getting struck by lightning. Guess which of those elicits the most fun for me? I'll admit, for all the pseudo-clever ideas I've tried to smuggle into this little series, this is probably my favourite card, maybe alongside Pigeon as Caesar. I don't know, it gives a nice kid-lit sort of vibe. So hey, if you've got a children's picture book that needs illustrating that's about electrocuting cows, I guess, I'm your veggie. Okay, 16, we're running out of cards now, see if you can guess what the next one is. It is... Death Penguin. I mean, they're already sort of clad in black. Usually it's a tuxedo, this time they're going for the full robe. What can you do? Death Penguin plays by their own rules. It's Pingu with a scythe. What are you going to say to that? Nothing. This one went through some iterations, mainly focusing on the connection between the shape of a penguin's beak and a scythe. I also contemplated having the grim Duta here standing within a group of daft-looking ordinary penguins, but the solitary bleakness felt more apt. Also, that's a lot of penguins, and I'm lazy. Did you know that penguins are second-hand? Okay, that's a bit of a strange way of putting it, but a now extinct bird called the great auk was the first to be called the penguin, and penguins got their name due to their similarity to the penguin. I mean the great auk. You can learn more about them and their truly awful history on my long-neglected podcast, The Road Less Rambled. So infrequently rambled that it's been 4 years since I last updated it. Still, interesting stuff though. Maybe I should do more. Yet more projects to waste my time on. 17 gives us the Temperance Walrus. Walruses are commonly known for their temperance and their restraint and their personal... I honestly don't know where this is going. If you ever looked at a walrus, I don't think there's anything going on behind that head at all. But maybe that is how temperance manifests. Maybe if there are no thoughts head empty, you can't exactly give in to temptation because there's no temptation to give into. The walrus, it turns out, true zen. So, walruses, eh? Those big old blubbery, toothy, tusky friends of the sea. And temperance, that virtue of diluting wine? Yeah, no, I've got nothing. Turns out the walrus isn't the only thing with nothing going on behind the eyes. Short of having this big friend playing with a sodden clamshell, stop giggling in the back. As a parallel of the old dilution motif, I drew a bit of a blank on this one. Well, actually what I drew was a walrus, and I think a nice one at that. They're learning about fluid dynamics, i.e. clam go tip, water go splish. I mean, that's only a couple of steps away from hydroelectric power, isn't it? They'll get there. 18 is the moon bee. The bee moon. I shan't bemoon this option. I mean, I guess people like to say that the moon is made of cheese. Maybe it's made of bees or honey. There's just a giant honeycomb in the middle of the moon. It's a giant hive. Why have we never thought of this before? The moon is a giant hive for space bees. Actually, I think I've just realized why we haven't thought of it before. It's because it's incredibly stupid idea. Well, me being me, I've somehow secreted the moon into quite a few card designs up until this point, and yet at the moon's ultimatum, I didn't even bother to include it in its own card. Perhaps the moon isn't in fact a massive space hive, but maybe to a couple of bumbling buddies looking up in the twilight, it's not all that dissimilar. Bee fact, did you know that according to all known laws of aviation, the bumblebee flies perfectly well? The last couple of 100 years of aerodynamics research have really done a number on that factoid, not that Jerry Seinfeld noticed. That said, the bees probably didn't hear about it either, because they don't have ears. But if they don't have ears, what are they dancing to? Just a song in their own tiny minds? A song they cannot share? A song that's forever theirs and theirs alone? A song that compels them to dance. It's a metaphor for life, you get it? Okay, 19, only a few cards left. We have the Magician Polar Bear. Just covers his nose. He's disappeared. So for this one, I went with the common, if misappropriated, symbolic motif of as above, so below. Above, we have the old polar bear in a snowstorm joke, only I actually drew it like the fool I am. On the flip side, no, not that flip side, the other one, just flip it, there we are. We have a night scene with the Aurora Borealis, thanks for the joke, Christy, looping above their head. You could say that they're lemniscating on thin ice. While a whole bunch of unnecessary symbolism got crammed into the Rider-Waite card compared to its simplistic ancestors, I stuck to a more minimalistic theme. The only magic I particularly thought it worth drawing attention to was how dramatically we're making the ice disappear. Number 20, we're getting into the big numbers now, and we get the Devil Dragonfly. Ooh, that's a combination of things, isn't it? I can't make a joke out of this. I'm trying to think, how do you do dragonfly with the devil? It's like there's a dragon, it's just a dragonfly. It doesn't look particularly evil. Does it have do dragonflies have 4 wings? Because they've got 4 wings and a really long tail. Pentagram. Ooh. Maybe the dragonflies aren't the devil themselves, but that's how you summon the devil. New conspiracy theory. It took a while, but I think I eventually managed to cram a dragonfly into a pentagram. But then they kicked me out of the wicker shop, and now I just have to make do with this drawing instead. I quite like this one, because it's not really obvious what's going on until someone points it out. It feels quite sinister in that sense, hiding in plain sight, deceptive, lurking. Or I'm just bad at communicating, one or the other. Now it seems my random generator actually stumbled upon something here. Western civilizations really seem to think something sinister was going on with dragonflies, naming them things like devil's horse, devil's needles, or devil's scales. Indeed, according to Swedish folklore, the devil used dragonflies to weigh people's souls. Somehow, I'm guessing souls are quite light? That said, their reputation might just be because of their propensity to be pretty cool around snakes, themselves obviously a symbol of the devil. I don't know, I just think they're chillin'. Best buds. 21, only 2 cards remaining. Flip of the coin, we get the Hanged Man butterfly. How do you hang a butterfly? It can fly. Surely hanging a butterfly is just like attaching it to a leash. I guess maybe its wings are bound or something. Cocoon. Why did that take me so long to figure out? So aside from me taking way too long to work this theme out, there's not much going on here. The traditional image is that of a man hanged by the foot from a wooden beam, and we've got ourselves a chrysalis hanging from a branch. I thought I'd better add some actual butterflies into the background to pay good on the randomizer, because it didn't specify chrysalis, now did it? So I did originally say cocoon when generating these, and that's not strictly accurate. A cocoon is spun from silk, typically by moths, whereas a chrysalis is a solid exoskeleton formed from the body itself, typically for butterflies, watertight enough to hold the now liquefied pupa before the whole glow-up thing. I say typically. Some moths have chrysalis-like cases, and some butterflies form in cocoons, because nature's not having any of your clear-cut nonsense, you hear? Take that, categorizers. Take these colourful moths and these nocturnal butterflies, you binary bastards. Okay, that's a bit extreme, I'm very sorry. In fact, I'm so sorry that Chris will list all of the reasons that he's... Okay, well, we know what the last card is, rather ironically the last one picked by a random generator, but what animal did we get? We get, for the final card, the Wheel of Fortune Dolphin! I don't know, I feel like the dolphin would be smart enough to not trust in luck, but I guess I've been proven wrong, haven't I? Or is it the sound of when the wheel's spinning, that's the sound that the dolphin makes? And we close out on a nice simple one, a helical whirl of bottle-nosed water mammals rippling between the subaquatic beams, indicating that we've come full circle on our quest to manifest the animal kingdom in tarot form. I mean, we haven't, we've gotten to the end. There's nothing cyclical about this process, we've just finished. Please don't make me do it again. Dolphin fact, a group of dolphins in Shark Bay, Australia have exhibited one of the few wild tool uses in aquatic mammals, attaching sponges to the ends of their noses while foraging for food on the sea floor, ensuring that they won't get all scratched up. It has been noticed that these sponges tend to be more solitary, so I can only guess it's not exactly a cool look among dolphins, but hey, I appreciate you, sponge nose. And that's all she dealt. 22 animals for 22 cards. My fortune laid before you like the most peculiar rendition of Animal Farm. Here's hoping it spells a future more on the Pigeonus Caesar end than the lightning fried beef end. Thank you so much for indulging in this illustrative dilly-dally, and thank you as ever to my kind patrons who, of course, help keep this farce running. If you'd like to pick up a deck of these cards, then you can visit the link at www.thatstoomuchwork.com and watch videos of me trying to make trading cards for my patrons and seeing just how much of a faff it truly is. As always, feel free to contact me if you'd like a commission in any of the styles you've seen me blunder through here, and I hope to see you soon for some more frivolously illustrated nonsense. Look after yourselves, everybody. Goodbye. Kick the microphone at the end. You can learn more about them on my truly awful podcast. Wow, there's a Freudian slip there, my word. And there are the jackhammers. Can you hear the jackhammers? I'll keep recording just in case you can't hear the jackhammers, but the jackhammers are there. And that's a cat, meowing. Do you want to add to the cacophony?